For over 100 years, Rotary members have taken action when challenges arise. We know what people can do when they come together and put others before themselves.
The team lead said they will continue the campaign to fight against the coronavirus.
Local Rotary clubs deliver food and supplies to people in need.
Strangers become friends, helping hands multiply, and problems turn into solutions. We are Rotary. We are people of action. Learn more at rotary.org/action.
Every Rotary project anywhere in the world always started out with one person who had an idea. And then they were able to grow and develop that idea by getting other Rotarians engaged and using that powerful network of Rotary to really change the world.
I want to make a difference, and I see Rotary as being the best vehicle worldwide to be able to make a difference to the community as a citizen of the world.
It's always a blessing to give back what you have received. Rotary is just a sweet place to be. The fellowship, the ability to serve. It's not about how old you are or how much you have.
We don't have to be Prime Minister to lead our country. Even one Rotarian can do lots of things.
People want to feel involved, and that's how they feel that they're actually contributing and giving something back to the society.
Every Rotarian's needs are different. And if we don't know what their needs are, then how are we going to fulfill them?
Right after someone gets in Rotary, you have to start fostering the opportunity for them to take a leadership role, whether they choose to or whether the club chooses them to.
Leader is a role model of everybody.
If you've got the heart, you're going to take your club forward in some fashion. And that's what it's really all about, all of us working together.
Teaching, leading, and then transferring the responsibility of what we are doing to them. The rewards are huge. The satisfaction's enormous. I'm very proud to be a Rotarian.
Good morning, good day, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to this largest Rotary Club meeting ever. My name is Paul Stiles, and I am the current president of the Rotary Club of Homewood, Illinois in the United States. Today's meeting is hosted by the following U.S.-based Rotary clubs: Rotary Club of Homewood, Illinois, the Rotary Club of Edina, Morningside, Minnesota, and the Rotary Club of Lake Spivey, Clayton County, Georgia. Let's start with a couple of housekeeping comments. Please note that this session is being recorded. Please make sure you are in the speaker view for the best experience during the event. There will not be an opportunity for verbal questions. However, please note at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A box. If you have questions, put them in the Q&A box and the speaker will respond to your question after the presentation. Right now, I'd like to ask you to look at the chat box at the bottom of your screen and use that chat box to type in the name of your Rotary Club and your location. We are anxious to see from where all of our participants are Zooming today. It is now my pleasure to introduce Steve May, the president of the Rotary Club of Edina, Minnesota, who will give a Rotary reflection. Steve?
Rotary has been an influential part of my life since 1975, when I was a speaker at my father's Rotary Club when I was in high school. In 1982, I attended the Rotary International Convention in Dallas. In Texas, they do things in a big way and they didn't disappoint. But now I realize the Rotary motto, service above self, is bigger than any one person. Over 1.2 million Rotarians come together as a powerful force to serve those in our local community and those internationally through our grants. Our collective determination to end polio is a beacon of hope as we move forward. This year's Rotary theme, Serve to Change Lives, is appropriate as we enter a dynamic new year with big ambitions. It's an honor to be a Rotarian and to serve. Paul, back to you.
Thank you, Steve. Great message. And now I'd like to call on Sonia Gaither, president of the Lake Spivey, Clayton County, Georgia Rotary Club, to lead and read the four-way test.
Please join me in reciting the words that guide us as Rotarians, the Rotarians four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Back to you, President Paul.
Thank you, Sonia. And a reminder to our audience, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box and our speaker will respond to your question after the presentation. The moderator of the Q&A box will be Claudia Myrtle, past District Governor of District 6900. To introduce our program today, I turn it over to past District Governor Tom Gump from the Rotary Club of Edina, Morningside.
It is truly great to be here with all of you and to have the honor to introduce my friend, our speaker today, past Rotary International Director, Stephanie Urchick. Stephanie is a member of the Rotary Club of McMurray, Pennsylvania, USA. She's also a past trustee of the Rotary Foundation, and for Rotary International, she's a past chair of both their Strategic Planning Committee and their Executive Committee. And for the Rotary Foundation, she's the past chair of the Centennial Celebration for the Atlanta International Convention back in 2017. She is a major donor and a Bequest Society member, and she has participated in numerous service projects around the world. Actually, Stephanie is one of my Rotary heroes. Professionally, she has a background in higher education, consulting, and in the entertainment industry. And she's going to speak to us today about Rotary's response to the pandemic and how this event has positioned us for the future. Please virtually welcome Rotary International Past Director Stephanie Urchick.
Thank you, Past District Governor Tom. Hello, family of Rotary. What an amazing day. We are making history by being together in the largest Rotary Club meeting ever. We've had over 600 individual registrations, but in some cases, the registration is for one computer, and there's a room full of Rotarians who are part of the meeting, as in the Homewood, Illinois, USA Club. President Paul is the registered person, but the entire Rotary Club is watching. So we are indeed the largest Rotary Club meeting ever. And a special hello to all of our international clubs attending, as well as those clubs who are using this meeting in place of their regular club meeting. So, you know, it's good to be with all of you, even if virtual. What a strange year and a half all of us have had. Carl Sagan, the great American astronomer, author, and poet, once observed that extinction is the rule, but survival is the exception. Ladies and gentlemen, Rotary is an exceptional organization. I love Rotary just as you do, and I love that we have survived the twin crises of a COVID pandemic and a bleak economic instability. Some may even have called it a recession. For months, headlines had predicted that 1/3 of all the nonprofits, at least in the United States, would close or merge by the end of 2020, but not Rotary. Service impacts around the globe saw reduced or suspended services, but not Rotary. Jobs at organizations took a hit, with pre-COVID numbers far above the numbers recorded at the end of December in 2020, but not Rotary. Family of Rotary, today, I want to reflect on how and why Rotary International, the Rotary Foundation, Rotary Zones, districts, and clubs survived, and why it signals that our future will be one in which we are going to thrive. You all know that just over 2 years ago, Rotary launched a new action plan, a strategic plan with 4 priorities that are meant to move us into that bright future. Many of you have heard me talk about those priorities and what they mean for our clubs. As a quick review, here are those priorities and what they mean. The first is increasing our impact. That's the priority that's asking us to assess what we do so that we can better measure and humbly brag about our success. Expanding our reach suggests that we can build new channels for more people to come into the magic of Rotary. So this is the priority talking about all the new club models that our Council on Legislation created in 2016. In the United States, it also refers to our Innovative Club Advocates program. A third priority is enhancing participant engagement, and that requires that we build participant-centered Rotary experiences so that value is delivered. You know, I'm sure all of you heard immediate past President Holger Knecht speak at one time or the other, and when he does, he always talks about how important it is to care for our Rotary members, care for them, reach out to them, find out about them. You know, I always talk about how important it is for us not to do exit interviews, but to do entrance interviews as people come into our clubs. finding out more about what they're interested in, what their passions are, and that way we're better able to tailor that Rotary experience so that members find the value. But you know, it is priority number 4, increasing our ability to adapt. That tested us to the max, and we passed with flying colors. The way we do Rotary was taken from us 16 months ago. Do you remember where you were when you heard the news that the pandemic was real and we were about to go into lockdown? For me, it was March the 13th of 2020. I was at a district conference in Virginia in the USA for District 7570. The DG got up on the stage during the second half of the first day's sessions, and he bravely announced, by order of the governor of the state of Virginia, this district conference is now closed. We looked at each other. We didn't know what was going on. We had a certain amount of fear. We stayed overnight, and the next morning, everybody drove home or flew home. It was the last Rotary in-person meeting that I attended for the remainder of 2020. Rotary could have shut down, but we didn't. I watched dozens of news programs and read countless articles about major corporations here in the US filing for bankruptcy or going under. And I'm sure those of you in other countries have similar stories. Some of those closures in the United States included a well-known retailer, Neiman Marcus, Cirque du Soleil, Brooks Brothers, California Pizza Kitchen, Lord & Tater, and my personal favorite go-to store. There was a store in the US called Steinmart. The reason I love Steinmart is because they always had an amazing array of clip earrings. See, I don't have pierced ears. So when I shop, I'm always looking for clip earrings, not pierced earrings. So when the store, Steinmart, announced that it was closing, I made one final trip to buy several pairs of stylish clip-on dangling earrings. Now, I suppose I can find these kinds of earrings online, but the magic of the kind of experience I had won't be there. You see, I would gather my girlfriends and we would make a day of this shopping experience. We would shop in the Steinmart store and we would look at the jewelry and purchase things, and then we would have lunch together and then, shop at other places. But shopping online doesn't give you that same kind of experience. Oh well. The Journal of Philanthropy reported last fall that 22,000 nonprofits, mostly here in the United States, would fail due to coronavirus. From child care centers to food banks to arts organizations, the economic toll of this pandemic is in the billions of dollars. What did Rotary do in the face of COVID-19? Well, at headquarters, Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation staff were sent home on March the 11th with technology, and they were asked to test whether they could do their jobs from home. Some tweaks were made, and by 2 days later, it was business as usual. In-person meetings became Zoom meetings. The only thing that couldn't be completed was the actual mailing of Paul Harris Fellowship hardware, since those things were locked down in the building. COVID relief grants were created and distributed until all funds were expended, and they were put to great use. What did Rotary clubs do? Well, they embraced and learned about technology. We zigged and zagged and then Zoomed or used other virtual platforms and other technologies. We looked for ways to serve safely. Clubs, including most of you on this call, were sewing and or distributing face masks. We're delivering oxygen concentrators. We're serving meals to first responders and then to those in need. We're delivering essentials to people who were staying at home, especially seniors. We're hosting webinars for the public on the virus and how it spreads and how to control it and stop it, or calling and checking on club members to be sure that everyone was safe. And of course, clubs used the over $36 million that was allocated for COVID relief grant projects. Our Rotary Zones adapted. I wanted to host a summit, a Rotary Institute in the Steel City here in Pittsburgh, USA, but I had to pivot to a virtual event. As an in-person event, we would have seen about 400 or 500 people throughout the week. But going virtual, we had over 1,400 registrations, and with all the likes, views, and live streaming, over 10,000 people saw one or more segments of that institute. And some used portions of the institute as virtual programs for their clubs. Now that is a public-facing event. That is public image and sharing the magic of Rotary. Additionally, that event also donated over $27,000 US to a local food bank. So service was an essential component, even virtually. Now, all of this tells me and tells the world that we figured out how to connect. We figured out how to serve. We did what the world was craving, and we survived. Now that brings me to a new topic, our future. Our future is bright because we have learned valuable lessons from this past 16 months. And here are just a few. First, we absolutely expedited digital innovation. I like to say that Zoom and other platforms saved Rotary and a lot of other organizations and companies as well. Facebook live streaming and virtual platforms allow more people to experience the magic of Rotary. Look at us today, for example. This is a perfect example of what we've learned from our pandemic experience. Rotarians and clubs from around the world are gathered for the same Rotary meeting. The chat was scrolling really fast, but I was taking a look and we have more than 20 different countries on this call. So is it the same as in person? Is it perfect? Of course not. We're always going to cling to a few in real life experiences, but the easy to use virtual tools have become our new default. Prior to 2020, I rarely, if ever, shopped online, but now I'm hooked by the convenience. And I hope the next time I go online and I'm looking for cool clip earrings that I'm going to be able to find them. I never thought that I would have a medical exam over Zoom, but telehealth proved me wrong. I've spoken virtually to over tens of thousands of Rotarians since March of 2020. In my second year as Rotary International Director, I was in 51 different countries and I never left my home office. I wouldn't have come close to that number with in-person meetings. All of these lessons are going to help Rotarians and Rotaractors rethink how we continue to do Rotary. Secondly, we found that virtual experiences allow those who are unfamiliar with our cause to test Rotary in a convenient and cost-effective way. Innovative clubs are popping up all over the world. Indeed, in our zones, but everywhere. I'm doing virtual new member inductions or new club charterings every single month. With President Shaker's emphasis on membership, we'll continue to see more and more Rotary clubs join our organization. Third, we learned that we don't have to eat to do Rotary, and that Rotary doesn't have to be so darn expensive. My club dues here in the United States went from $240 US each quarter to $90 each quarter. Think about that. I'm paying $1 a day to belong to the grandest best organization in the world. Number 4, as the world got smaller, nature let us live larger because we got outside, because it was the only safe place to be. And now that supporting the environment has become our newest area of focus, we can capitalize on how our planet got more love during COVID. We got closer to trees, closer to bees, closer to birds. In fact, binocular sales were up 22% in the last half of 2020 because stargazers and bird watchers were out there using them. We have more city parks, more bicycle lanes, more temperature-controlled dining spaces, and more outdoor events happening, including Rotary meetings. All of this bodes extremely well for support of the environment as we move into our future. And of course, there are more lessons. Now, I'll share one with you that hasn't been verified. There's not been research done on it. It's not a Rotary opinion. It's a Stephanie opinion. You know, our fight to eradicate polio certainly encountered a challenge with the pandemic because, of course, our vaccinators were unable to get to the locations they needed to. But think about it, we probably also encountered an opportunity because as more and more children were part of lockdown, they were not out playing in contaminated water and actually getting the disease. Now, I can't confirm that, but it's just an opinion. So we'll continue to hear how Rotary clubs and Rotaract clubs are facing the challenges and figuring out solutions as time marches on. Someone, and I'm not sure who it was, wrote these words: "We don't even know how strong we are until we're forced to bring that hidden strength forward. In times of tragedy, of war, of necessity, people do amazing things. Rotarians do amazing things. The human capacity for survival and renewal is awesome." So, family of Rotary, there's never been a better time to be a Rotarian than right now. And the world needs Rotary now more than ever as we come out of this pandemic facing something new and something different. The basic need for friends, for fellowship, and for service, along with our courage, our optimism, and our idealism, will propel us into a thriving future because we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change around the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Thank you, family of Rotary, for continuing to be people of action and for being a part of our survival and of our future success. Again, let me thank the hosting clubs and all of you on this call. Thank you so much for participating and listening and making history as we engage together in the largest Rotary club ever. We have time for a few questions from the Q&A box. And again, this is moderated today by PDG Claudia Myrtle, who is from District 6900 in the USA, and also from one of our host clubs, the Rotary Club of Lake Spivey, Clayton County. Claudia, do we have any questions?
We certainly do, Stephanie, and thank you very much. One of the first ones was, would we consider activating Zoom's free closed captioning? Because many Rotarians have a degree of hearing loss and appreciate being included in the meetings. That would be something that we could think about. I'm sorry, go on.
I was going to say that's a wonderful suggestion, and yes, we should do that.
Absolutely. There was some conversation about why didn't we not have the Pledge of Allegiance. We did have the Pledge of Allegiance before the meeting started and started being recording. One of the host clubs had the Pledge of Allegiance. And I wanted just to make sure that they knew that we did not forget it. Another question.
Well, Claudia, let me just comment on that. The reason it was not included in this portion of the largest Rotary Club is because we have more than 20 different countries on our call. So the Homewood, Illinois Club, as it started its meeting in the US, did the pledge, but out of respect for the variety of countries that are on the call, we did a Rotary reflection and we did our four-way test.
Thank you. What was the final count of participants? And I think that was put in the box, but Stephanie, would you tell us?
Well, you know, it's hard for us to determine exactly how many Rotarians are participating. As I mentioned, we had over 600 individual registrations, but in some cases, that registration meant one computer, an internet connection, and Zoom, and a room full of Rotarians watching this meeting as it's happening. So I don't know that we are ever going to be able to get the final number. We know it's over 600, but because of the variety of ways that people have connected, we won't know what that number is, but we do know that this is the largest Rotary Club meeting ever.
Thank you so much. We can see now President Paul's club was being shown as you were talking. The members of the club were being shown. And that's a big group right there. Another question, how can we leverage what's been done in the past year in the way of videos of events or Facebook streaming to increase our exposure to the external or non-Rotarian audience?
Well, you know, that's such a great question. You know, that's always been one of my challenges in Rotary. You know, as Rotarians, we know all about what we do, but we spend so much time talking to ourselves. Think about our Rotary meetings, our Rotary events, our assemblies, our conventions. They're all about bringing Rotarians together. Well, we know what we do. That's why we love what we do, because we know all about it. You know, I mentioned when I was speaking earlier, when I had to do an institute that was virtual, I did open it up to the public, because I think that's one of the things that we really, really need to think on. How do we message more information about Rotary outside of our clubs, in our community, so that more and more people understand the value of Rotary and the magic that we do, and then find us so appealing and attractive that they want to come into our clubs. So, you know, there are some things that are available in our learning center about using technology effectively. So if your club has not experienced great results with hybrid meetings or virtual platforms, I would direct you to our Rotary Learning Center, because there is information there that can be very helpful to set you up and get you set up so that you can have a virtual meeting that is effective and productive.
Great answer. Thank you. Another one, how will we be able to access the recording of Stephanie's presentation?
Well, that actually will be available on the Rotary Zones 33 and 34 website. And I believe at the end of this presentation, there's even a slide that will show you that URL, but it will be available beginning this Friday morning. So if you visit the Rotary Zones 33 and 34 website, you will be able to see a recording of this meeting.
Thank you. Our club in Statesville, North Carolina also eliminated meals due to cost and inability to serve in a manner to limit COVID spread. How do we maintain that position after the fear of COVID passes? That's from Ken, and he says, thanks for the answer.
Well, that's an interesting question, because it has to do with culture. You know, legacy clubs, by and large, have been so used to having a meal as part of what they do. So it really depends on your club members. You know, one of the things about Rotary leadership as a club president is, I think it's always important to ask your club members for input. So when the majority of club members are feeling a certain way about a certain issue, you really have some direction about how to move forward. In the case of eliminating meals, you can bring factual information forward, how much money is being saved and the safety concerns and all of those issues. But ideally and ultimately, a Rotary Club determines its own culture and its own path and the way it will operate. So the best thing to do is bring it to your club members.
Thank you. Another one is, what is your response to those who are against holding our meetings via Zoom and hybrid?
Well, I think it's very myopic not to include the virtual technology. As I mentioned in my comments, there were so many people that I ran into during the past 16 months who were on Zoom calls who had never heard of Rotary, but somebody had invited them to come and test it and try it. Well, think about it. They didn't have to drive anywhere. They didn't have to go anywhere. Also, think about the people in our own communities who, you know, if your club meets at noontime, think about the people in your community who can't get away at noontime. Maybe they're teachers and they have students in a classroom, or maybe they're medical professionals and they have appointments. If they were able to be in their office and quickly connect to a meeting, they might be able to attend your meeting or a portion of your meeting. Because when you think about a Rotary Club meeting, whether it's at noontime or in the morning or in the evening, you must get in a vehicle, most likely, to drive to it. So there's a half an hour. If you're in a Rotary Club meeting for an hour, then you have to get back in your vehicle and drive back to home or back to your office. That's 2 hours out of your day. I don't care if you are the CEO, the president, a director, a manager. Taking 2 hours out of a workday or taking 2 hours away from your family in the evening is a huge piece of the day. So I think using technology allows people to be more time efficient and more time effective, and gives us the opportunity to invite more and more people to see what we're all about.
Thank you. This is a question you may have more comments about. You have answered it, but do you see an important place for hybrid, virtual / in-person meetings in Rotary's future?
I think all of them will be important. You know, when you think about how Rotary was created 116 years ago, Paul Harris did not found Rotary because he wanted service projects. He didn't want to go and build a toilet block in Chicago. He created Rotary because he was lonely. He wanted the fellowship. He was a young attorney in Chicago, had moved there, didn't know anybody. So he found 3 other individuals who had different professions, and they met once a week and got to know each other. The service came later. So we will always have a need and a want for fellowship because it is one of the ideals on which our organization is built. So I think in-person meetings, in-person events are important, as well as some use of technology to help us connect with those who are unable to make those events and meetings.
Perfect, thank you. Can you explain some of the most innovative clubs you've seen developed and your recent experience with any outstanding innovative clubs you may have seen?
Oh, you know, all the clubs that are coming on board that are new are so creative and so different. Some of them are cause-based clubs. Some of them are satellite clubs. Some of them, you know, are clubs that are made out of former members. They're all so different. What I like about innovative clubs is that they create their own culture as they get started. You know, I'm a member of a legacy club and I love it. I wouldn't change it. My club has been around for a long time. And because it has a certain culture. So for someone to come into my club from the outside, they have to fit or want to fit into the culture of my club. But if a new group of people in my community get together, and they create a different Rotary experience, they will create a culture that makes sense for them. We also have to think about generational differences. You know, as an organization, Rotary is aging, and we want to become more appealing to younger generations. Well, when you think about it, younger generations do things differently. Any of you who are parents know what I'm talking about. All right. You know, I remember the story that I've told dozens of times, but when I was younger, I would go out to disco dances and I would wear shoes that had, you know, 6-inch heels. And my father would grab my shirt and he'd say, "Where in the world are you going with those shoes? You're going to trip and fall." And I'd say, "Dad, do not worry. We all wear them. We all know how to walk in them. We know how to dance in them. It's how we walk and how we do. This is the clothing that we wear." That was my generation. All right. So generations after me are going to want to do things their way. They're going to want to do Rotary their way. And we need to understand that and let them. So the idea behind Rotary is that, you know, we want fellowship, leadership, integrity, diversity, and service. We want to serve our communities. We want to serve the world. We want to make the world a better place. How groups decide to do that will be different, and it may not be the same as the way our legacy clubs are doing it. And that's okay. That's okay. I love Rotary, but I know I'm not going to be here forever. And I want to be sure that when I'm not, there will be people lined up who will take my place and continue to make the world better.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Do we have a sense of the number of Rotarians that we lost this past year? Folks who just don't Zoom or had financial difficulties, for example?
We did lose some people. I don't know what that number is, and I'm not even sure that Rotary International has done that research. So that's not a question that I can really answer. I know we have lost some, we gained some, and we lost some. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and the second part of that is, what do you think are the possibilities of bringing them back?
Well, that's actually up to each individual club to reach out and to try to get those members back and to talk about, you know, why this club is now different or what new is happening, to find out, you know, what value wasn't being met for that individual, and see if your club is able to create something to bring that value back. You know, people all over the world they have the same 24 hours, but they want to make sure that they use their time in ways that please them, that are effective, that are efficient, and that give them what we call return on investment. If they're going to invest the time and the resources to be a member of a Rotary Club, they want to be sure that they're getting something from it. Some people want the fellowship, some people want the service, some people are looking for development, professional development, some people want mentoring, some people want networking. So find out what people are looking for. That way you're better able to make sure that that is happening in your club.
Thank you. We have a comment here about the Red Cross. The Red Cross is experiencing blood shortages worse than pre-pandemic. How can we encourage clubs to sponsor blood drives?
Well, the first thing I would say is to educate clubs about that. So I'm not sure where that information came from, who made the comment, but share it. If you have contact information, post it in the chat, because, you know, most of the time people don't know about service or what to do because they don't know that there's a need. So our first job, our first role is to educate people about the opportunity.
Thank you. We have many comments, Stephanie, about your presentation, and every single one of them are glowing, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
There are several comments in addition. Neil says, thanks for your response about closed caption. I've often heard from people without hearing loss too, who told me they found the captioning a helpful adjunct, as not all voices are clear. And that is something that we had said that we would look into. And another comment, we've had very successful meetings on Zoom during the lockdown. Afterward, we decided to have hybrid meetings. It meets the needs of both those who want to meet in person and have lunch, and those who are not ready to meet in person but want to keep connected. So she says that hybrid meetings have been very successful for our clubs. It has been a real pleasure to hear you, Stephanie, and I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you so much.
So it is my opportunity here to thank Stephanie, and it is truly an honor to be able to do that. We could not have had a better speaker today and organizer of this, the largest Rotary Club meeting ever, than Stephanie. As I mentioned in her introduction, Stephanie held two key roles at RI just recently, the past chair of the Strategic Planning Committee and the past chair of the Executive Committee. These positions are only given to the very best and brightest. But holding these particular positions allowed Stephanie to get a broader view of Rotary, while at the same time seeing how Rotary is best able to adapt and thrive in the future. Thank you, Stephanie, for sharing your comments, and especially how Rotary's response to the pandemic has positioned us to have a brighter future. I am personally going to share your advice about not giving up what we learned during the pandemic, but using the skills we honed, such as having virtual meetings, to make our clubs be more flexible. Like you always said, a flexible club is simply irresistible. So now I'd like to turn it over to President Paul to finish our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I'd like to thank all of you for attending our event today, and we owe a special thanks to past Rotary International Director Stephanie Urchick for being our speaker, past District Governor Terry Weaver for his technical support, the Rotary Club of Homewood, Illinois, the Rotary Club of Edina, Morningside, Minnesota, and the Rotary Club of Lake Spivey, Clayton County, Georgia, who acted as hosts of this meeting. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for attending. Thank you so much for participating, and you can find the recording of this event posted to Rotary Zones 33 and 34 websites by Friday morning. Have a great day.